All right, so it is Sunday morning as I begin filming this, and exciting day today. We're getting ready to go film podcast number 2. If you guys haven't checked out the first podcast, the After Prison podcast featuring Banky and I and guests, our first guest was Travion Blunt, a young man who did 15 years and was originally sentenced to 6 life sentences plus 115 years. Absolutely insane story there. With the podcast that we're doing, it's my hope to have, some really good guests and the best of the best in terms of guests and content that we're bringing to you guys with the podcast. So today, we're actually going to have somebody who's been on After Prison Show a few different times, probably like 3. And who that is Darnell Phillips. Darnell Phillips, for those of you who don't know, a guy who did 28 years for a pretty nasty crime that he didn't commit. He's been released because evidence has proved that he is innocent, and yet he still has not been fully exonerated. At least the last that I know, he has not been fully exonerated. And one reason I feel like that hasn't happened is because as soon as they do, they're going to have to pay that guy. That's just my opinion on the situation. Really humble, awesome guy, and our second guest on the podcast. We're taking 2 vehicles to get to the podcast location because I got to charge up the car and all of the equipment is loaded up in the other vehicle. I got Joel this time, so we shouldn't have any kinks with podcast number 2. Also, the podcast is available on streaming platforms now. There will be some links down below if you guys want to check out where the podcast is now available outside of YouTube. Definitely do so. Follow us on those platforms because, well, the podcast will be available on all of those as well. Banky has never met Darnell Phillips. I'm sure they're going to have some pretty interesting conversation between the 2 of them, and I'm just happy to be there. Read a lot of insightful comments on how we did with the first podcast, and it's my hope to take heed to some of what people were saying. So let's go. Focus on the road, Joe, and podcast number 2, it's on the way.
I'm gonna be honest with you, though I hated doing time, never wanted to be there. But the people I met, right? I met some guys, I met some cats that I never saw inmates the same way. You know what I mean? I know the inmates, but I never saw them the same way because these were the guys that when things went down, they bonded with you. I remember, man, one time a guy had stole something from me. This was a guy who came from the other part of the cluster. They were stealing IDs and stuff. But I remember I had some Nation of Islam guys from the gang members, Washington, everywhere else, old timers, new dudes. They were like, well, look, man, dude stole something. You're a good dude. They said, I know you can take care of yourself, man. They said, we see you out here boxing on the yard. I said, I know you can take care of yourself. Dude said, but nah, they stole from a good guy. And so
what did they steal from you?
Well, he stole my ID, stuck his, back then in the early 90s, you remember the IDs, you can take the picture out. If you get it, you can steam it open. Well, he steamed it open, put his picture in, and then went to the store and spent my money.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Elaborate schemes.
Because you gotta realize, man, this, like, y'all attest to it that some of the most intelligent men in the world are behind bars. You cannot get by that. The unlimited, untapped potential that's behind bars is ridiculous. Yeah. Like the cure of AIDS, I got to be behind bars somewhere. You know what I mean? If they haven't got it now, right? And so, the guy did that, stole from me. But dudes like, man, dudes were really gonna hurt this guy. And Greenwoods were violent. It was a very violent place, right? One dude said, look, he's about to go home. He said, man, man, we meet him in the stairway. I said, nah. I said, man, nah, I can handle myself. You know what I mean? But the thing about it is I had to make some decisions then. Just because you don't want to mess with someone and doesn't mean they don't want to mess with you. You catch me?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so he was coming and interfering in my life. And I said, if I'm going to live my faith, then I'm going to have to live it in real time, I could have, in my flesh, did I want to choke the guy up? You better bet it. Because I'm going to tell you who the guy was. The guy was my cell partner. I stayed up all night long in the cell. When he was on bed, he knew something was wrong. And so sometimes in there, I'd be, be in the room at nighttime. I'd be in there, you might make up your little bag or whatever. You hit in the bag, you box, you might take the pillow, the mattress up by the wall. I hit the wall, you know what I mean? And so just working out. Yeah, trying to get a little workouts, a little sweat, whatever. And so, because I worked in the kitchen, so you can get out early in the morning and go take a shower. So I would do that, but that night I didn't have to go to work next morning. So I sat on that toilet, that cold metal toilet in the cell. And I'm sitting, I'm like, man, I got to do something to this dude. I mean, that was in my flesh, you know what I mean? But my spirit, my heart, I'm like, nah, man, I want to go home. I said, I want to go home. I want to live my life right. That's something small. But principle in prison, if a person steals from you, and if an individual, just so happened though, right? If a person steals from you and you don't do something about it, it appears weak. But it just so happened that that's not the same in all cases, because all the old timers like, look, bro, we know you can do something to the dude, but I appreciate you walking in what you say you walking in. He said, you just ain't around here preaching, just running your mouth. You trying to walk this thing out. And so, just so happened I didn't have to do anything. But
what did you do? Please explain that. Please explain the resolution you came to in that situation.
You know what I did?
Because he had to be scared to death.
He was on the wall. I was singing. I had to sing, man, because I had to keep myself down. Because I really wanted to grab him out of that bunk, right?
You were singing.
Look, I had to sing. I had to sing some gospel or something. Because look, I wanted to grab.
That's when I'm going to be scared.
I mean, we were both two young dudes, right? I was like, man, at the time, my prime, we was out there hitting like I was working with the old timers, hitting like 1,000 push-ups a day, hitting the yard. So I'm like, man, I'm sitting on that toilet. I said, I'm gonna grab this cat. But you know what? He was like this. He was set up the whole night. Even I'm like, and I just stayed on that toilet the whole night singing. Oh, yeah. Just sitting on that whole cold hard toilet, sitting on it with with my sneakers and everything on. And so early that morning, you know what I did? I went out there, man, took a shower, came back in. It was tempting for me even when I came back in, right? I said, man, I'm gonna smack this guy. Then I said, nah, I can't do it. So what I did, I went to the hallway. I said, look, you know what? I told the lady named Lieutenant Patterson. I said, Lieutenant, look, just move me. I said, move me, right? I need to go. I said, because I just need to go. She said, what is it? She said, one of the officers told me your money was stolen. I didn't know this dude was a part of a ring in another cluster that they were doing that. I said, well, look, I'm not a snitch. I said, I can handle myself. For real, I don't know who did it. I told her I don't know who did it. But I found out that when I went to the hole, they put me in the hole because I told her, I said, I think I'm gonna do something. I ain't say to who. I said, I think I'm going to do something. I said, because you know what? I said, I'm relatively mad. I spoke in outbursts. But what she did, she said, Phyllis, why you say that to me? I said, look, man. I said, I'm angry, man. I said, why y'all let a stranger? Y'all know who I am. I've been on this camp for years. Why would y'all let somebody go steal all my money off my books? And so they put me in a hole for 2 days, but since I worked the staff kitchen at the time, the warden came back there, and he came walking by that Sunday. He said, Phyllis, what you doing in there? I explained to him, so he put me right back in the pod. He said, you out of here, you be in the next day. But when I went back to the pod, same dude, old cell partner who didn't have any money, that joker had a full-blown store box.
The dude that stole from you.
Yeah, he had a full-blown store box, but they didn't put me in that cell. And so, after that, right, he was trying to tell me it was a gambling. I was gambling, because guys gamble a lot at Greenville. I was gambling, man, and look what I came up on. I said, right.
Oh, yeah, he had to explain himself to you.
Yeah, he did. First thing he did, right? And what got me was that sad part about it, some of the guys, in the pod were going to him. I guess they thought I was down for the count or something, right? They didn't realize I was coming back. But nevertheless, it's prison life. Right. You know what I mean?
How long were you into your sentence when this happened?
I was, man, probably about the 8th year.
Oh you need a pat on the back, because I wasn't even that strong in my 8th year. I would have been in the hole for something totally different.
It was hard because, like I said, I had a guy, man. This guy literally, right? He messed with me. I was receiving with him. Yeah. He from this area. He was like, look, man. He said, man, I get him on that step. Yeah. Greenville guys were getting stabbed, and you couldn't tell. Yeah.
And what you were saying was, it's true, when dudes see guys that really don't get into nothing, they really ain't into nothing, and they know that this dude trying to be on the straight and narrow, and they try to see people taking advantage of them, dudes will step up, because like I said, a lot of dudes will feel like, okay, well, he don't want no drama, but if you really looking for something, you can get it right here. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So dudes will really do that. Yeah. And then even more so, what you were saying about, even though, like you say, the case you had on you, but dudes ain't look at you like that. And Joe, what you said was something about people having that type of case too, and people might go at them. Let me tell you, I mean, about people, everybody in there saying that they innocent.
Right.
Let me tell you something. 33 years I did. I ain't never met a dude that had a rape charge say that he did it. Never.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
But not just regular charge, but a rape charge. I never heard a dude say he did it. So people, like say your aura, people usually can tell. Every now and then you might get thrown off. Like me, I was locked up for 33 years. Every now and then somebody will tell me, they say such had a rape, he got a rape charge or whatever. But I try not to prejudge people anyway, because just like he was innocent, other people could actually be innocent. You not what you accused of all the time.
Right.
So I know that. But I have been shocked a couple of times when I knew people or have got to know them and been around them for a long time. Then they say, oh, well, you got a rape charge. I never knew it. You know what I'm saying? Never knew it. And I recently found that out about somebody now that's been out that I knew him his whole business. Somebody told me, did you know that's what he was locked up for? And I never knew that. Because that's another thing that you can attest to. You probably too, even though doing your 7, you don't ask people when you're locked up what you locked up for.
Which is kind of crazy to think about too, because you see it on TV all the time. That's the first thing. Oh, what you in for?
But that's false advertising. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's not real.
I have never had nobody walk up to me in prison and say, hey man, what you locked up for? I just ain't never had, and I ain't never asked nobody that. I've been around people for decades and never knew what they was locked up for, because it wasn't my business.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I'd never asked them. I definitely wouldn't have asked them. But people usually can see your character. You know what I'm saying? Especially if you're accused of something like that, like rape or something. They usually can see your character to know if, I've seen dudes that was accused of rape. They say rape. I don't know what you call it, a profile or whatever. I looked at them and said, yeah, I can see it. You know what I'm saying? I can see it because their actions, the way they be acting, interacting while they, in there and around the women and the things they do, the way they carry, you can tell.
Right.
But the average dude, like I say, somebody like you, they probably was looking at you, see the way you was living, see the way you was conducting yourself. But like I say, that's just another test to your fortitude, bro. Because not only did he do that, but people don't realize he in the cell with you, man.
So, Sunday afternoon, it's 1:30 in the afternoon, and we are just getting done filming the podcast with Banky and Darnell Phillips. What an awesome experience all of that was. Every time that I get the opportunity to film with Darnell, I always learn more about stuff that he's been through and his story. And to consider that this is our second podcast, I don't think we could have came with a better guest for the second podcast. We've got, what is up with this car? This car's like flying up behind me. But anyways, we got more guests. We got another guest lined up already for next week, so super excited about that. Man, that car is driving crazy. Anyways, we got another guest lined up for next week, so that's going to be a really cool thing. We got already got a ton of stuff planned for this upcoming week, so that's going to be good. And I think it went really well. So I'll be excited to share that with you guys and hear what you guys think of podcast episode 2.